What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Traveling Trader. Happy Friday to you. It is the day after July 4th. If you're in the US, I want to wish you a happy belated July 4th. I didn't do a video yesterday. Obviously, I was off like most of you. So I took some time off, hung out with the family, etc. But now I'm back. So let us get right into it. I wanted to talk about Bitcoin, obviously, and I'll go over the market cap real quick. So market cap is falling. It is down to just under 320 bill. The market seems to be in a consolidation phase as a whole. I mean, obviously, we do have some cryptos that are in double-digit percentage losses in the last 7 days or so. But as a whole, it seems the market is in this consolidation phase where there's an indecision on which direction it wants to go. And this is really all across the board. There are a few notable breakouts. Chainlink, which we did do some swing trades on and posted those in the trade alerts. If you want access to the trade alerts, link is in the description. A few swing trades on Bitcoin as well. It is depending on the timeframes that you look at, there are some swing trades that you can leverage within Bitcoin itself. But really, there isn't much notable in the top 30 cryptos or so besides those. Dogecoin just got listed on Binance, I believe. But besides that, the market, again, is in a consolidation phase. So let us take a look at Bitcoin and give an update there. If you look at the 1 week, there is a level, and I've talked about this ad nauseum now, but there is a level that we have to get above. You see Bitcoin forming this rounding bottom, which is a reversal, a bullish reversal pattern if we do break out to the upside, but you tend to see this pattern, especially forming over a long time. This is over a year now that we formed this rounding bottom, hitting the lows obviously at the 3,200 level and then coming back up and finding resistance here where we found historical resistance previously between the months of January and March of 2018. So this is a key level, obviously Bitcoin, and it's proven already by the last 2 weeks of Bitcoin getting above this in the form of a wick, but closing below it. It cannot find its way to close above this 11,800 level. There is a bullish indicator in the form of the moving averages here. You see the 21 EMA crossing above the 50 and above the 100 MAs. So that is bullish in the short term. I do think eventually we will get to a point where we're closing above this either within next week or the week after that. Obviously, I don't like timed predictions. That's not something that technical analysis or technical analysts should really be engaged in. You worry more about key levels and see how the market reacts to those levels and readjust your analysis from there. We're not into fortune telling in that sense. So saying that, something is going to break through in a week or two, I really don't like getting into that, but it just seems based on the momentum and the history of something of momentum indicators like the RSI, for instance, that we could see a cooling off period here before rallying again in the same manner that we did similar to the last bull run, as well as the MACD still being on a really violent uptrend here without any indication of turning yet, right? And the volume levels are pretty stagnant. So if a gun held to my head, I would say that we would most likely break this level within a couple of weeks. Now let us take it down a notch and zoom in a bit on the 1 day. So the good thing is that there are bullish patterns on most timeframes. Again, this rounding bottom pattern that you see here is a bullish pattern that you want to see in a downtrend reversal, right? And then on the 1 day, you have this bull flag. This is almost a textbook picture perfect bull flag that you see in technical analysis textbooks. But obviously you have the resistance here and we want to break to the upside, and you have support here. Now within this channel, you could swing trade within this consolidation channel here, which is the flag part of the bull flag. But essentially you could get to, if we stay within the bull flag, if you hit the bottom, the support point of the bull flag, you can get to a 9,800, 9,900 price point. So if you didn't know anything about patterns and you saw Bitcoin going down to 9,800, you'd probably start panicking. But essentially you'd still be within the bull flag, and as long as we don't break to the downside and fail this pattern, or this pattern doesn't turn into something like a head and shoulders, which it could over the coming days, obviously, you could hit 9,800 and still be in a bullish pattern. And I think based on the momentum and the way the market's moving, that is possible. Obviously, we hit these highs with these two candles here at around 13.8. But based on the fact that the RSI and the MACD has to cool off a bit, and we do see volume waning a bit, although the flow of volume, indicated by this OBV, is not really negative. It's basically stagnant. Like, we rose to this point and we are stagnating up here. So the volume, there aren't too many sell-offs, right? There's a flow outwards of Bitcoin versus USD. And historically in these bull rallies, we do tend to see, these overbought conditions on the RSI. And there is a clear support of the RSI, which you can easily see without even, painting it. But here's the support line of the RSI, where it's bounced off numerous times, going all the way back to the beginning of the year. So in order to reach this point, and you see the MACD hasn't curled up yet, I do think there potentially is further downside. You can use the 21 EMA, this white line here, as your first point of resistance, first point of support on the way down. So around 10,700 now. And then the support of the bull flag itself, which we wouldn't want to go below because it would just deny this pattern, and it might take a lot longer for Bitcoin to rally again. I'm still bullish on Bitcoin in the long term. It just, in the short term, we could get to the 21 EMA or even potentially the support of this bull flag before climbing up again. Worst case scenario, not worst case, but a worst case from the support of the bull flag is if we get to the 50 or the 100 MAs, which both sit at now 9,200 and this at around 7,400 respectively. So we obviously want to stay in this bullish momentum, and this gives an opportunity for those to buy within the consolidation pattern before another rally upward. So as long as we're still within this bull flag here, I'm optimistic about the bullish nature of Bitcoin in the short to mid term. Looking at the 4-hour, there is also a bullish pattern. So if we remove all these drawing tools, you'll see that there is a potentially bullish pattern in the form of an inverse head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, right shoulder here. Now this pattern hasn't formed yet, so we can't call it this technically, but essentially what an inverse head and shoulders would look like is you'd have a neckline somewhere around here. So obviously we need the right shoulder to form first in the form of upside price action to around 11,800 before breaking the neckline. And if we do that, then I think we're on our way to retest the 13,800. So pay attention to this. It's not a coincidence that on the 4-hour we're lodged up against the 21 EMA, also the 50 MA, which are currently in the same spot, this white line and this orange line here. So this is where we're finding current resistance. I mean, these levels aren't magic, right? They're there for a reason. And these measurements and indicators are there for a reason. It gives you a guide as to how traders are reacting within the market. So currently we're finding resistance at the 50 and 21, the 21 EMA and the 50 MA, and we need to break that in order to get to the neckline, which then we need to break above in order to continue the bullish rally according to the 4-hour. So you kind of see how all these time frames play into each other, right? So if we do break the inverse head and shoulders on the 4-hour, then that would most likely mean that on the 1 day, we would cross the bull flag that I now have erased, but the one that you just saw previously a minute ago, it would break the bull flag to the upside, and then we would continue on to the retest of the weekly resistance that I had painted earlier as well. So all of it kind of plays into each other. Like I said, the fact that we do have bullish patterns on all these time frames, and based on the momentum and volume, I think we will eventually get there. It's just a matter of when. Right now, we are just consolidating if we look at the shorter time frames. That is apparent. A couple of swing trades I'm looking at. Again, you want access to the trade alerts. Link is in the description. Link is one that I'm looking at, and there are a few reasons. You see the hidden bullish divergence between the price here, making higher lows, the RSI making lower lows, the MACD making lower lows, and you see that the OBV, the volume flow on Link is still pretty healthy, right? There haven't been a ton of sell-offs from the point that we saw it rally back in the last week of June. So This is on the 4-hour, by the way. So it's forming this symmetrical triangle here. And obviously a break above the triangle would justify an entry into Link. Link does tend to wick heavy, so you would have to be very attentive when entering and exiting Link, setting trailing stops, etc., or taking profit manually if we do see a breakout and a rally from here. Looking at Litecoin, Litecoin has broken its trend that it's been in for a while. It's been in this trend since the last week of April, this upward regression trend, and you see it marked by this regression channel here, and we finally broke the support of that and have fallen since, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that we are now out of the trend and Litecoin is trying to establish support, and it's in a mode of price discovery, and we are now finding support at the 50 MA, this orange line here. There is hidden bullish divergence on Litecoin as well, as you see between the price, the RSI, and the MACD. Volume on Litecoin is more fluctuant. Is that even a word? More fluctuating than the last few coins that we looked at, but it is still, in general, it is still in an uptrend going all the way back to December 2018. So that is still a good sign. Obviously, the halving is coming up in August, and we don't really know what to expect in terms of how the market will react to it. We don't have enough evidence from previous halvings, but there are some analysts that say that the downside price action that we've seen ahead of previous halvings have already happened on Litecoin. Obviously, it was at around $20 during the end of 2018 when we entered, and it is now trading at around $119. So a lot of analysts are saying that is potentially the downside action ahead of the halving, and some are saying that we will see upcoming downside action and potentially a crash on Litecoin ahead of the halving. For me, it's not what's apparent is the long-term trend is more bullish than bearish. Obviously, you see this long rounding bottom forming going all the way back to May 2018. Like I said, the volume is still healthy on Litecoin, but we will keep an eye on these levels as we move along in order to avoid any sort of bloodbath by holding Litecoin. Right now, there is a potential swing trade by buying at the 50 MA, obviously, because this is a point of support, along with the bullish divergence that I talked about, the hidden bullish divergence. So you could essentially swing trade Litecoin here, buying at the support and selling at the clear resistance, which is at around 133 in the short term and around 141 in the midterm. So with a trade like this, I would obviously want to have a tight stop limit in case we do break below the 50 and try to find a price discovery or support in another range. Anyway, that's all just to give you an idea of how I look at the charts and what kind of trades I try to find within different time frames and how I am reading what the market is painting on these charts at the moment. Looking at EOS, EOS is also at the bottom end of this regression channel. It hasn't broken it yet, but it is trading at the bottom of it in the same way that Litecoin was before Litecoin finally busted through and broke below the regression channel. So I'm very curious. I'm eyeing this like a hawk, very curious to see what EOS does. Obviously, you could justify an entry here with a tight stop limit, but it is looking like it's potentially forming a bear flag here on the 1 day, a short bear flag. So I'd be curious to see what happens with EOS. I'll be monitoring this closely for any breakouts. All right, that is it for this video. If you want access to the trade alerts, link is in the description. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below if you have a question or a comment or an agreement or disagreement. Hit that thumbs up if you got anything out of this video. It goes a long way. Stay safe out there. Peace.